first thing, Man United are favourites for this game. Like facts, like straight facts. And I'm amazed to say that. That's how astonishing this season has been for Liverpool and how far backwards they have gone.
Hello and welcome to ESPN's Football Forecast with myself, Hugh Woozencroft and James Allcott, looking ahead to another massive weekend of football across Europe. But we have to start by looking back at a game that we've just experienced, and what a high quality game it was as well. Manchester City getting the win away from home against Paris Saint-Germain in the first leg of the Champions League semi-finals. Huge fixture, fitting for a final itself. James, what did you make of the game? Listen, I'll come to it in a moment, but I don't think Manchester City were actually as good as everyone's making out. What did you think?
Well, actually, look, when it's a semi-final, really all that matters is the result with this one. And of course, that sending off doesn't make too much of a difference. I feel like it's late enough in the game that actually, look, it was 2-1 at that point. And do you know what? I think you can pick apart at Man City a little bit if you want to, because they were poor in the first half. But the second half, they got back in. Guardiola obviously clearly had a word with them. And I think he's come out and said himself that they just needed to be themselves. And when they are themselves, anything can happen. And I think that is the big thing with Man City. If they can get out of their own heads, and we said it ourselves on the last show, if Guardiola can get out of his own head as well and just let them play the way that his philosophy has sort of taught them over the last 3-4 years, then they will win games, they will control games. And they did so in the second half. I think that was the big thing for me. That's what I liked. The recovery. I did enjoy the recovery.
However, he says we wanted to be ourselves. We wanted to go out and enjoy it. And then he surprised everyone with a lineup that looked like it had two false nines in, not even one. Barely anyone could guess how they were going to play. In the first half, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva were pretty much on the periphery of the game. And I actually think they probably should have scored more on the night. But they were fantastic defensively. Kylian Mbappe, I mean, a player that everyone looked forward to setting this game alight, was totally absent. Unbelievable performance from the Manchester City defence. But where was he?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we were pinpointing it, weren't we? We were saying that, look, you're going to get the ball into that kind of zone 14. Or, I mean, I guess when you're playing against Man City, it's never the zone 14 because you're that far back. But you've got to play on the counter-attack and try and get someone like Mbappe into the game. But they just weren't able to do it. I think John Stones, deserves a lot of credit alongside Ruben Dias, because he has had a few wobbles and mistakes here, but I thought he was always on the front foot in this game against someone like Mbappe. There was one moment where Mbappe was able to get past him and move the ball across, and no one was in there for him. Look, I don't think we need to go too far with Mbappe in terms of, what has he lost it now? Is he not the player that he was? This guy's incredible. Let's not get it twisted. I think this Man City team controls games generally so brilliantly. I think this is the toughest test that they might have. And for Man City, if they're able to get through that next game and get themselves to the final, regardless of it being Chelsea or Real Madrid, I just can't see anyone else winning the Champions League this season. Do you think PSG can play any better than that? Do you think PSG can play any better than that against Man City?
Listen, I actually don't think Paris Saint-Germain are on Manchester City's level. I just agree. I saw the way they played against Bayern Munich. They gave away so many chances. If Robert Lewandowski had played, Paris Saint-Germain wouldn't have made it through to the semi-finals. They got extremely lucky just in terms of the possession and shots that they gave away to Bayern Munich, who we know are a brilliant side. Just lacked that 5%. And Robert Lewandowski is worth about 30% in terms of your output. So unfortunately for them, they didn't make it through. But I think that has overhyped Paris Saint-Germain, the fact they knocked out last year's winners. And yes, of course, they were in the final last year, but I think the one-match format in terms of the knockout stages actually suited a team like Paris Saint-Germain that can play on the break. Neymar and Mbappe really enjoyed themselves. But I think it's a different kettle of fish this year. 2 legs. They really needed to manage both ties. Idrissa Gueye really, I mean,
what is he doing? What is he doing? What sending off? I have no idea.
That really affected. Exactly, but that affected their chances of winning at home. And now they have to put everything in the pot for Liga, in my opinion, because then we're not looking at the eventual Champions League winners for me, even if they go through to the final. And the league is massively important for their manager, Mauricio Pochettino, who arrived earlier on this season. And the fact they've won, 7 of the last 8? I mean, Paris Saint-Germain not winning the Liga title is virtually unthinkable, but the race it's so tight right now. It's so hard to call.
Yeah, I mean, I really like AS Monaco. I love the way that they're playing at the moment. They're on fire at the moment. They won the last 5 on the spin, looking really good. Cesc Fabregas doing brilliant stuff for them. I think they've really gone under the radar this season, Monaco, and I think just be careful of them, because I think with PSG, clearly, as much as you want to say, of course, you want to win the title again, the focus is on the Champions League, and now that they've got to the semi-finals, that's the bulk of the season. We've only got a few games left. And with it being so tight, I mean, shout out to Burak Yilmaz, by the way, 35-year-old dude. And he's gone to Lille. And last week, he absolutely dragged them through it. It's going to go right to the wire. And I don't know. I think, look, your head has to say that PSG, with the quality that they've got, should get themselves over the line. But I've just got this funny feeling about Monaco. I just think they're coming out on the outside.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I've got that funny feeling that Monaco, I love Niko Kovac. I think he was underrated as Bayern Munich's coach and maybe should have been given more time there. Monaco against Lyon this weekend. PSG against Lens, who have been fantastic themselves, only 1 defeat in the last 14. They've got to play all 3 of these title contenders before the end of the season. They're going to have a big say in the title race. And then Lille against Nice as well this weekend. For me, I'm going to say a Monaco win, a PSG win, and a Lille win as well to keep this going right to the wire. So, yeah, loads for us to look forward to in terms of Liga. And the Premier League as well, of course, our bread and butter, James, being English. You know, we love the Premier League. A huge one for me and all Manchester United fans as well, hosting our big rivals, Liverpool, at Old Trafford at the weekend. But really, the big question marks are over Liverpool and their race for a place in next season's Champions League. Because if they lose this game and Chelsea win at the weekend against Fulham, well, that will mean that Liverpool goes 7 points away from a place in the title race with only a few games to play. It would be a massive, massive defeat for them. And really, it would kill their chances, I think. But then what does it mean for that? What does it mean for their manager, Jurgen Klopp, I think will be the next question after that.
Well, it feels like, with managers, I think momentum and trajectory is a really important thing. And I think you saw that with Jurgen Klopp, over the last few years. They reached the pinnacle. They reached the Mount Everest, which was getting that first title after 30 seasons. And now, though, I look at this and first thing, Man United are favourites for this game. Like facts, like straight facts. And I'm amazed to say that. That's how astonishing this season has been for Liverpool and how far backwards they have gone. Now, is this a long-term thing or a short-term thing? I don't know. But at this moment in time, I look at those two managers and one is certainly going forwards in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and one is really going backwards. And when you talk about Jurgen Klopp and some of the kind of, maybe it's just one of those things where, look, this guy is a really emotional guy and that's what we love about him. Let's not get it twisted, right? But at times, he has just been he's obviously been very frustrated and that's kind of gone over the top a little bit in some of the interviews that he's had. And of course, those interviews that you do have, Solskjaer's seen that himself this week with some of the comments that he's made about Roma. It will come back to bite you if you don't get it right. And Jurgen Klopp has gone after different reporters at different times. And it really has got to him a little bit this season. Can he get to the summer, get Van Dijk back in the team, get Gomez back in the team and go again? Quite possibly. But at the moment, it is a bit of a mess. To not be beating Newcastle in both of their games this season is pretty terrible. And I can only see one team winning this game this weekend. I only see Man United winning it. The game earlier in the season, Cavani came on and really should have got the victory against them in what looks like a drab 0-0, but really they should have won that game. But for Klopp, I think him not making top 4, you can't say that he's going to get himself the sack. He's got, indefinite credit in the bank. But this is a slippery slope, isn't it?
It's more about how Jurgen Klopp's feeling, I think, when it comes to his future at Liverpool. Fenway Sports Group are never going to get rid of him. He's the person that's brought them basically everything over the last few seasons. Champions League, a Club World Cup as well. I mean, what else do you want? The Premier League title, which they waited 30 years for. And
the fans are angry, aren't they? The fans are angry as it is. So they're, if you think there's a revolt right now, if you get Klopp, then it's going to get dangerous.
They're angry at Fenway Sports Group, but actually I think this recent period will have endeared them more to Billy Horgan, to the chairman, to Jurgen Klopp and his players as well.
I think there's a little bit of a road to go there, don't you think?
No, because I think it became apparent, particularly with John W. Henry's apology, that they didn't know what was going on at all. And the fact that some of the players came out publicly and said they didn't want to play in it, they wouldn't be for the European Super League, I think that helped calm the Liverpool fans down. In terms of the playing squad, there's still a lot of love there. And of course, all the joy they've brought them over the past few seasons.
But it's fractured though, Hugh. It's fractured. Surely there's, look, I'm not saying they won't be able to get there again, because you've got, in this relationship, you've got two partners there that want to reconcile in time, but there's also a lot of hurt there.
Mate, you're clutching at straws right now.
I don't think so.
Jurgen Klopp is still an absolutely fantastic manager. He's still got a great group of players. They've been at an absolutely incredible level for several seasons, and there's been a little bit of a tail off this year.
I know, I get that. Maybe we're getting miscommunication.
The only thing that I would say he's badly managed so far this season, I think it's massively affected their season, is the emotions in the squad when Virgil van Dijk was injured. You had people like Gini Wijnaldum coming out and saying the players were losing sleep over it. You had people like Jordan Henderson coming out and saying they didn't know what they were going to do without Virgil van Dijk this year. He needed to put that to bed immediately and say, hold on a minute, we've got a massive season here. Players get injured all the time. As great as Virgil van Dijk is, we have to manage the situation. And I think they managed it really poorly. They also didn't bring in a premium centre-half in January. I know that's difficult to do, but I think that massively affected their season. All I'm saying is, if he fails to make the top four, he will stay at the club, but he will be asking the club, where's the investment? Because everything he's done, I think he's only made two major signings in terms of finances. Virgil van Dijk, 75 million? Alisson, something like 67 million, was it? Those two huge outlays. Now he'll be saying, look, we need at least one more big name player. We've brought Thiago in on a free. Now we need someone of that quality, but we might have to back it up with a big spend as well. I think his long-term future is there, but I think emotionally it's been a difficult season for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just to be clear, mate, I don't think Klopp should go, and I don't think that. What I'm saying is that I think that the fans are upset with the owners, and if they were to get rid of someone like Jurgen Klopp, then it would just go to that nuclear level. That's what I'm saying. And so they of course they wouldn't. I think the problem is that we've seen it throughout the season, and truly nothing's changed in terms of the sort of disjointed mess, for want of a better phrase, that Liverpool have had to kind of sort of tread throughout the season. Of course, they've got great players. Of course, the likes of Salah scoring as many goals as he's always scored. But as a collective, they've not scored as many points, certainly not scored as many goals, and that they've struggled. And I think that will continue in this game. I see Man United coming through this one and winning it. Do you agree?
This is going to be another dull game between Manchester United and Liverpool. They specialise in these, they get the rhetoric up, they get everyone going, the adrenaline pumping, waiting for a great game. And then what happens? It flatters to deceive. It's been a long, long time since anyone conceded, I think, more than 2 goals in this game. Yes, we had 5 goals in an FA Cup game earlier this season, but in terms of the Premier League, it's always a close affair, usually decided by 1 goal. And I know that Manchester United are the favourites for this game, but I think the fact that it's a huge derby makes all the difference for Liverpool. There will be a nervousness to it. There will be an edge to it. And of course, it means so much more to Liverpool than Manchester United as well. So I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw, to be honest. As a Man United fan, I'll take that. We're looking comfortable this season, finishing above Liverpool. Who would have thought that?
And of course, with your Europa League ambitions as well, there could be some changes for your selection, which would be amazing to see in a game of this magnitude. Let's move over to La Liga now, and Valencia versus Barcelona is the game on Sunday night, 8 p.m. But Barcelona, and again, we're going around Europe at the moment, and apart from the Premier League, there's some fantastic title races going on at the moment, and in La Liga, I know you believe that it's a big 3. I'm going to chuck Sevilla in there as well, because at the moment, you've got them in that top 4 with a real shot at possibly doing it if the other guys can start to stumble. But is this one of the most mediocre title races of all time? Because you've got Atletico Madrid, who were miles ahead and looks like it was going to be done. They have completely balls this up completely. Real Madrid, I think, are running on fumes a little bit at the moment. They're sort of clinging on to absolutely every element of experience that they've got within that team. And of course, Benzema dragging them through the Champions League this week as well. And then you've got Barcelona. Now, talk to me about Barcelona, Hugh, because they were finished. It was over. But look at them now. They've really, really turned it around.
people were calling for Ronald Koeman's head. The manager had to go. Messi was 1 foot out the door. Things were falling apart in terms of the president, needed a new change. And now suddenly the makeup, the atmosphere at Barcelona has completely changed. The title win could be huge for the club. It could be one of two ways for me. It can go down the road that Lionel Messi sees that they win a league title. If they do, could that mean that the future bodes so well under Ronald Koeman that entices him to stay for another couple of seasons with that carrot dangled there of going to win another Champions League in the next couple of seasons with Barcelona, and what a dream ending that would be? Or does he see this as his dream ending? He's able to leave in the summer on a free transfer that could open so many huge doors for him. And of course, he gets to say goodbye to the fans with a trophy if they win La Liga. So it goes down one of two ways.
Well, Hugh, if you were Ronald Koeman, what would you do?
If I was Ronald Koeman, what could I do? Ultimately, Lionel Messi can walk out the door and you can't do anything about it. Yeah. I'd be there outside of his front door every morning with a continental breakfast and telling him how much I love him.
Continental, wow.
Yeah, I'd massage his feet before the game. I'd do anything I could to keep Lionel Messi at the club because he's such an iconic figure. He's still so talented. His performances this season show that. And of course, the fans absolutely love him. And the idea of playing alongside of him means it's almost easier to buy players as well. So it's huge.
The reason I asked that question, mate, is because I feel like Ronald Koeman's been the star for Barcelona this season. The fact that he came in, no one gave him a chance. Everyone basically said, you've got this season and that is it. You will not be manager of this team next season because of the mess of the Champions League last season, of course, against Bayern Munich, that terrible result. But I feel like he's grown clearly. I mean, I guess different times for different managers at different clubs, it works or it doesn't work. But his stock was pretty low after that time at Everton, and he's gone to Barcelona. And again, it wasn't really working. But the best thing that kind of happened to Barcelona, I think, was almost getting knocked out of the Champions League, but also the change in system. The playing three at the back has been huge for Barcelona, and that's down to the kind of bravery of Ronald Koeman. So I wonder if, as much as, getting that La Liga, does Ronald Koeman have that little bit more gravitas and power to convince Lionel Messi to stay at this football club?
If he wins the league title.
Simple as that.
I think it's massive for him. Yeah, absolutely. It's massive for him. If they don't win the league title, imagine it comes down to the final game and Barcelona don't get over the line and they lose on that game would probably be the 90 minutes that defines Ronald Koeman as a Barcelona manager. So the next few weeks are going to be hugely important for him. His reputation as a manager all over the world, but of course, exactly how that affects his time at Barcelona. Look, he's done very, very well for me. I think the main thing he's done, I know you say he's changed the system, but actually there was no harmony at the start of the season with his group of players. Now they seem to be enjoying each other's company. They seem to be enjoying their games. They're all playing with a smile on their faces. They seem far more relaxed. That is a huge change to the start of the season. They looked incredibly tense. No one seemed happy, particularly Lionel Messi. And now everyone's smiling. And I think, look, if you can bring that to a club with as many talented players as they do have and some fantastic youngsters to add to that as well, then you're going in the right direction. Those will be the metrics by which Ronald Koeman can say he's had a successful season. But again, I think the number one thing is winning the La Liga title. Yeah. I'm not sure Barcelona are my favourites at this point in time. I've got a sneaky feeling that the experience of Real Madrid will push them through at the end. I don't know.
No, I have concerns. I think you're right.
This is very tough. I know you're not. I know you wouldn't put your money on Sevilla, even though you said it.
No, I do love an underdog, but yeah, I mean that does feel like a stretch. But do you know what? In this season of all seasons, I would really love Real Madrid or Barcelona to not win La Liga this season. I think you're so right in terms of that point on harmony, because you look at, say, like Antoine Griezmann, he's playing as a centre forward. Now it seems pretty obvious, but the way that Barcelona is so used to playing, he was you were trying to fit him in. And even the signing of him, initially I was very confused about why he even came in, but 11 goals this season now. He's been in great form for them. You talk about Lionel Messi, 25 goals this season. My concern for Barcelona is going into this game against Valencia, a game that they drew earlier in the season. Of course, they did play a back four in that game. It's these big games that they do seem to struggle with, losing to Sevilla, drawing against Valencia, losing to Real Madrid in both games this season, not being able to get anywhere in the Champions League, really. Does that concern you? And when I go back to that idea of a mediocre kind of run-in, when it comes to Barcelona, as much as there's been a comeback there, in those big games, even last week, they were pretty poor in that game. They got lucky to kind of get the victory. Do you think they can kind of win this big game, win these big games moving forward? I want to know. So you're going to go with Real Madrid, but do you think Barcelona will kind of, because it's in their own hands, really? Do you think they'll crumble in these big games?
I'm not sure they'll crumble. Ronald Koeman, basically, and I know you talked about the system change already, but they've been a more pragmatic team. This is Barcelona. This is the side that we associate with Johan Cruyff and beautiful football. And I think there has been a huge hangover from Pep Guardiola's time in charge of the club, because they took the game to another level. They were incredible to watch at times. The things that they did, winning all those Champions Leagues. I think what the Barcelona fans and hierarchy thought was, we can play like this forever. And it almost doesn't matter who the manager is, as long as they copy that. As long as they copy that style, that elegance, and that success as well. Ronald Koeman has come in, and even though he played for Barcelona and he understood the club and what they wanted, he looked at his group of players and said, we can't play that way every week. He also looked at Real Madrid and said, look what they've done without playing sensational, sexy football. Let's be a little bit more sensible with what we have at our disposal. That just means to me that they can't play teams off the park every single week. That doesn't mean they're not going to win the league title. I just think they've got a solidity now. They've got a strength. They've got some fantastic players doing well in the forward line as well. The recipe is there for them to win the league title. As I say, I think Real Madrid might win it, but I can't predict at this point in time whether it will be them. I can certainly predict this weekend. Valencia haven't won in the last 5 games. At Barcelona, 10 wins in the last 12. I would be shocked if Barcelona don't win this. How do you see it?
Yeah, I can't agree more. But, 14th in the league, Valencia, a really poor season for them. I also think, they play with a 4-4-2. I think Barcelona will just pick them apart in this game. And I think they'll be absolutely fine moving into those last few games of the season. Prediction for the La Liga? I think you're right. I'm going to go sensible. I think you're right. I think Real Madrid might get over the line.
We're hanging ourselves out to dry here.
I know.
In the comments, everyone is going to be grilling us for all these predictions in a couple of weeks. We can't see into the future, people. I promise.
I know. We're giving it a go, though. We're giving it our best.
We're giving it a go. Everyone, by the way, in the comments, make sure you try your best as well. Another title race at the moment, which has been interesting over the past couple of years. Looks like it's going to be wrapped up by Inter Milan this year, is Serie A. But the big question is over Juventus, really. They go to Udinese this weekend. It's a massive game in terms of, every game really is in terms of the future of their manager, Andrea Pirlo. They just haven't played well recently. As I say, 3 wins in their last 7 matches. You cannot turn the team that has won 8 league titles in a row into a Europa League team for me. So the next few weeks are pivotal for Andrea Pirlo's future. In reality, I think there's a very good chance he won't be the manager next year either way. What do you make of everything going on at Juventus right now? In particular, what Cristiano Ronaldo might be thinking looking at all of this?
Well, there's been a lot of talk. I think Tutto Sport was speaking about the idea that Ronaldo, if they don't make the Champions League, wants to go to PSG or Manchester United, your team, Hugh. I think it's absolutely right that there's speculation over Ronaldo's future, because, he's 36 years old. He wants to win those big trophies. We've spoken about Lionel Messi. I think as much as the sort of league titles are important, I think actually they're looking a little bit further up and going, Champions League, we want to play in those big games. Ronaldo conditions himself to be ready to fire in those knockout games. And of course, they're not playing in those knockout games. So that's a massive problem. And for him it's funny, isn't it? For him to play in the Europa League at this stage of his career isn't really acceptable for him, for his standing. He's got to be playing in those big tournaments. When I look at him in terms of his next move, I've got to say, when I think of him and Man United and him going back there, it does look right to me. It does make sense to me. You've got a Man United team that's getting more and more exciting, but do need that leader, that guy who can deal with the pressure. And although he looks forlorn a little bit this season with Juventus, that's down to the players around him. I think he's getting a little bit sick of all of that. And I think it's a scary time if you're a Juventus fan, because, Andrea Agnelli, he didn't even want the Champions League. Well, he might not even get it at this stage, because you've got Napoli and AC Milan and Atalanta and Lazio all around this Juventus side at the moment. A Juventus team that last season got 83 points. This season is currently on 66 points with just a few games to play. If I'm Ronaldo, I'm gently seething. And if I'm looking at Pirlo, if he's not it's the kind of Frank Lampard syndrome here, where the guys are great. Of course he is. He's probably one of my favorite players to watch play the game. But this isn't good enough, is it, Hugh? And if he's not able to get into the Champions League, to take them that far back, can he survive?
No. If they're not in the Champions League, he's got absolutely no chance. And even if they are, if it's a fourth place finish, I mean, you've got to have huge question marks over what for many is one of the best squads, if not the best squad in Serie A. Of course, Inter Milan have been emerging last season, very close to the title. This year, it looks like they are going to win it. But I mean, the teams that are ahead of them, come on. The way that AC Milan have come back this season to make Juventus look like a mediocre side. I mean, who is that going to be acceptable for at the club? Andrea Pirlo won't accept that. Cristiano Ronaldo certainly won't accept that. He will have to be thinking about his options. For me, unfortunately for him, in many ways, he's almost priced out of a move. Unless Juventus decide we're going to release him from his contract because his salary is so huge and it costs us so much to keep him at the club, that would be a huge decision. But he'd need a Paris Saint-Germain or a Manchester United to be willing to pay him those huge sums as well. Maybe they would at that age, but I think, for those clubs and the pandemic, why not wait a year? He'll be on a free, so it's almost that Cristiano Ronaldo is tied in to a year in the Europa League if they don't make it. And I mean, you can't imagine anyone being more angry than Cristiano if they don't get to the Champions League, because he went there thinking, I'm going to win another Champions League. This is a club that can take me to that title. We're talking about Messi at Barcelona, what he wants to do. Both of them want to win this tournament again. They want to be at clubs that can push for it. And it doesn't look like Juventus are going to do that anytime soon. Barcelona probably won't either. So both of them have huge decisions to make. I would love to see Cristiano back at Manchester United and hopefully ending his career there. I think that would be an amazing story. I still think he's got a lot to give. But again, I think it won't be this summer.
That's interesting, because the one thing I would say, devil's advocate, is that I wonder if it's worth a certain amount of money that Juventus will go, look, this guy's going to go, so let's take the money that we can. Of course, if you look at in terms of players ins and outs, Juventus and AC Milan are the teams that, from that group of Super League teams, that have had the biggest losses over the last 12 months. So they will be looking to get some money. It's going to be a very interesting summer. But before that, they need to get themselves into the Champions League. They play Udinese this week. A lot of English fans will be familiar with some of the players in there. You've got Del Feo, Pussetto, Pereira in there as well. But Udinese, again, a sort of a middling side this season. It's a game that Juventus have to win, but with some of those quality players that they do have in this side, Rodrigo De Paul as well. A lot of people talking about at the moment Udinese as an exciting Argentinian striker for them as well. I see this as a bit of a stumbling block, Hugh. What's your prediction for this game?
No, I think Juventus will get the result. I think it's reaching that point of the season where every game's a cup final, pretty much. And the experience and the talent that they've got, I think they're one of those sides, really. If they throw the kitchen sink at it, they'll be getting results from here on out, and maybe that will be enough for them. I see Juventus winning it 3-1. I just think too much for Udinese. Look, it's famous last words, but I think Udinese probably aren't at Juventus' level as many shortcomings as Juventus have.
Can we get that clipped up, please? That's perfect. I think, look, you're right. Udinese conceded 14 goals in the last 5 Serie A home games against Juventus. So it should be a Juventus win. I've just got a funny feeling about this. I don't know why. I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go out there. Okay. I've just got maybe a 1-1, something like that. Whatever happens, at the moment when it comes to Juventus, it's not very pretty. We've had a lovely tour of all of Europe, haven't we? Let's come back to England one last time and talk about Southampton versus Leicester. Now, this game, of course, has got a lot of history. Even in the last couple of weeks, of course, the guys played an FA Cup semi-final. Leicester City won that game. And Leicester City are on the cusp of Champions League football themselves. A fantastic season for them. Have they exceeded expectations, or have they just finally reached those expectations here?
Listen, Leicester City had a fantastic season last year. They tailed away. They had a number of big injuries last year, and they found it very difficult to cope with losing the likes of Ricardo Pereira and James Maddison. I think they had 4 major long-term injuries that affected them. This year, I think the additions of Wesley Fofana, Timothy Castagna, I think they've been able to cope. Kelechi Iheanacho, who was at the club already, his form has been much better. 14 goals in his last 14 games. That's massively helped them because Jamie Vardy, once again, just like last season, his goal scoring has tailed off in the second half of the season, but the supporting cast is much stronger this time around. I think they've done so well, Leicester City, with the additions to the club, and that has made a huge difference in their ability, with some more injuries this season, to keep their push going for a place in the Champions League. And you've got to give credit to their manager, Brendan Rodgers. He's managed to cope with it with a level head this season as well. I think they found it a little bit difficult last year. Went into this season knowing, look, there might be some bumps along the way, but as long as we can get ourselves into that top four picture, we should be able to keep ourselves there because the squad is just a lot deeper. He's an underrated manager for me, although he rates himself pretty highly, it seems. I think he's a careerist, Brendan Rodgers. He wants to be at the biggest club possible. It didn't go his way at Liverpool, although he finished second in the Premier League. He wants to get back to that level, the elite level, not just by being in the Champions League with Leicester. Look, I think he'll do great and he'll show everyone why he's such a good manager in the Champions League, because I think Leicester will make it this season, unlike last year. But I still think he sees himself at one of those huge names in world football, just like Liverpool. That's where he wants to be back. Maybe a Manchester United in the future. We just talked about Juventus, could be them. Look, he turned down the Spurs job. I don't think that's a big enough club for his ambitions. That's to put it into context.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I really like Brendan Rodgers. I think he's actually, I think the Brentisms that he kind of comes out with, I think there's sometimes shadow the fact that I think his self-development of himself has been quite impressive, actually. That manager that walked in with Liverpool and the manager he is now are two very different people, in my opinion. I think that the big thing with him with Leicester, and he said it in an interview recently, was that he wants to disrupt that six. And he's done that. He's massively done that. And, talk about him turning down Spurs. I think, of course, you're going to turn down Spurs. Because, if you think about those expectations, which can often, cripple a team and a manager and the players, you're not going to have that at Leicester City. It's an optimistic moment. It's an exciting moment if you get yourselves back to the Champions League, which it looks like they're going to do. And if you look at the two squads, I think we're seeing it a lot, and we're kind of getting to that point now. The fallout this summer for a lot of clubs in terms of their squads is going to be huge. And I think probably no bigger than Spurs. Bale going back, Reguilon going back, Kane, what's going to go on there? And who's going to be the new manager? Is it going to be that manager with the same gravitas as a Jose Mourinho, regardless of what you think about him? So Brendan Rodgers, when he's got that young team that now in the Champions League, you don't have to sell your assets. You can keep all of those players. I think he's certainly got 2, maybe 3 years where he can, if he moves away from this team, this squad, and these players, I think he'll regret it. So I see him staying at Leicester City for quite a while. And I see Leicester City staying in this top 6 for quite a while as well.
Believe you me, if the Manchester United job comes up, Brendan Rodgers will be there in a heartbeat. I almost think if Mikel Arteta gets fired at Arsenal, Brendan Rodgers would be interested in that job. Because
Do you think he'd walk away? You think he'd walk away from that Leicester squad? Surely not.
Listen, right now, no. This summer, no.
Right.
No, I think at least one more year at Leicester City, certainly to show himself once again in the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers wants to do that for sure. Obviously, that is not going to be happening at Arsenal unless they win the Europa League, of course. But I do think he sees himself, as I say, one of those big names in European football. It'll be about investment after that point in time. And Leicester City have recruited very shrewdly, but they're not going to go and spend £50 million on a player or £60 million on a player. Right. So I think, yes, another season, maybe another season after that. But the thing about Brendan Rodgers is I think there's a perception in the media, at least, that he'll always be willing to listen to offers. And he was that way at Celtic, and he will be that way at Leicester City as well. He gets more time with the players on the training field as well, I think, at Leicester City. That makes a huge difference right now. But how will that affect him and his league position next year once they're in Europe? So once again, bear in mind, they went out of the Europa League early this year. How will the Champions League affect them next time around? Remains to be seen. I think it's a big thumbs up in terms of Brendan Rodgers and everything that he's done so far. And I think he will continue to do great things at the game, whether that's at Leicester City or elsewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's interesting. I think Andre Villas-Boas said this season that with Marseille, they got themselves to the Champions League and then got all this scrutiny. And he was like, you need to be great to get the opportunity to get, shunned and told that you're rubbish. And that might be something that kind of befalls Leicester City and Brendan Rodgers next season. That's a really interesting point. With the game itself then, Hugh, let's just get your prediction on that one. Southampton versus Leicester City. Southampton, don't have a good record against Leicester City. Could they turn it around?
No, in short. I've been really disappointed with them. I think they need to consider what they're doing with Ralph Hasenhüttl. As much as you've had injuries, as much as the lack of depth in Southampton's squad has been shown up so far this year, I still think some of the performances have been below par. Leicester City will be a very difficult game for them, even though they're at home. I don't see them getting a result. I think Leicester they're just happy right now. They're just in a good vein of form, and I think it's going to be difficult to stop them as they are.
Yeah, I think this feels like a real guarantee for me for Leicester City. I think they've got the bit between their teeth. I agree with you here. And I think that if anyone's going to score a goal, I think it's pretty obvious it's going to be that boy, Iheanacho. So Iheanacho to score at least one goal and Leicester City to get the victory in this one. Right, guys. So me and Hugh, we've given our predictions and our thoughts on so much. It's been globetrotting today. It's been lovely.
At least we can travel somewhere, right? We can go around Europe.
Exactly. This is the best way that we're going to be able to do it. This is the only way it's going to happen at the moment, which is fine by us. So lots of talking points there, guys. Get involved. Let us know what you think down below. Thanks for joining us on ESPN's Football Forecast. We'll see you next time.